Tell me, do you ever feel a strange sadness as dusk falls? The Zelda series occasionally ventures into darker territory than its family-friendly presentation might suggest. Ocarina of Time's Shadow Temple, the Wind Waker's Earth Temple, and, well, everything in Majora's Mask. However, Twilight Princess features one location that I find more unsettling than any other: Twilight itself. Twilight Princess's story begins in Ordon Village, when Ilia and Colin are captured by invading Bulblins. Link is knocked unconscious, and when he comes to, he gives chase, sprinting across the wooden bridge towards Faron Woods. But he finds that the forest has changed. A wall of nothingness looms at its edge, a black void where Link's world seems to just end. This is the Twilight, a part of the world from which the light has been extinguished. Hyrule has been attacked by an invisible enemy from another world, in what would become known as the Twilight Invasion. Before its people realized what was happening, huge swathes of the kingdom became trapped in perpetual dusklight, suspended somewhere between life and death. Under this veil of darkness, time itself seems to have stopped. Strange black particles pepper the air, which is stained with a sickly amber glow. Hyrule's citizens are now lost in this netherworld, though they do not understand what has happened to them. In this world of shadows, they have been stripped of their bodies and reduced to spirits. But they live on, unaware of the fate that has befallen them. In his wolf form, Link can use his enhanced senses to see the true forms of these lost spirits, revealing that they are terrified. In the sewers of Hyrule Castle, the spirits of soldiers tremble with fear, pleading that someone save them from that which hunts them, because the spirits of mortals aren't the only things living in the Twilight. The shadow beasts lurk in the darkness. Impossible, alien creatures which appear as if from nowhere, whose unnatural strength can overpower even the finest soldiers in Hyrule's military. These dark beings are responsible for Hyrule's fate, and are the main threat to the spirits trapped in the Twilight. But to understand the Shadow Beasts, we first need to understand what Twilight itself actually is, and what has happened to Hyrule. The story of the Twilight begins long before the events of Twilight Princess, when a clan of powerful magic wielders conspired to take the omnipotent Triforce for themselves. These people, remembered only as the Interlopers, were so great a threat that the gods themselves intervened, commanding the 4 light spirits to banish them, sealing them forever in a land devoid of light, the Twilight Realm. Though they were gone from Hyrule, these people lived on in the darkness. Over countless generations, they adapted to their new environment. They developed a civilization and a culture, and were known as the Twilight. Despite their violent ancestors, the Twilight were mostly a peaceful people, the anger and hatred at their perceived oppression all but forgotten. Until, in Hyrule, Ganondorf was to be executed. Captured by the sages, the King of Thieves was impaled by a sacred sword, but he did not die. Granted divine strength by the Triforce of Power, Ganondorf broke free of his restraints and killed a sage, intent on releasing his fury upon the kingdom that had wronged him. Left with no other choice, the remaining sages were forced to open the only door to the Twilight Realm and seal Ganondorf inside, along with the Twilight, whose ancestors had originally been imprisoned there. This proved to be a fatal mistake. A being like Ganondorf could not be contained. Immediately, he began working to free himself. he discovered Zant, an aspirant to the Twilight throne who had been shunned by his own people for his ambitions of vengeance and his lust for power. Another aspirant named Midna was instead to be the ruler of the Twilight, a powerful sorceress in her own right, but one with a fair temperament that befit a princess. Ganondorf saw this as an opportunity and knew that he could use it to his advantage. In return for his servitude, Ganondorf bestowed his own power upon Zant, allowing him to overthrow Midna and take control of the Twilight. Drunk on his newfound power, the usurper king set his sights on what he and his master both desired: revenge against Hyrule, against those who lived in the light. Zant used his magic to change the denizens of the Twilight Realm. He cursed Midna, contorting her into an impish form, and transformed his own people into violent beasts under his control, foot soldiers for his war. With these monsters at his heel, Zant began the Twilight invasion. Shadow beasts materialized in the springs of three of the light spirits, Faron, Eldin, and Lanayru, and stole the light from them, causing the regions they protected to fall into twilight. Zant himself traveled to Hyrule Castle and offered Princess Zelda a choice: surrender or die. This is the fate that has befallen Hyrule at the start of Twilight Princess. When he wakes up after being attacked by the Bulblins, the kingdom has already fallen into darkness. When he approaches the boundary of the Twilight on the edge of Faron Woods, he's attacked once again. A shadow beast's black arm reaches out and pulls him inside. Had Link been a mere mortal, he would have then met the same fate as all others who find themselves in the Twilight. He would have succumbed to the darkness and been reduced to a spirit. But Link is different. He possesses the Triforce of Courage, and its magic saves him. Instead, Link transforms into a blue-eyed wolf. This coincides with an ancient prophecy passed down by the Twilight that a hero would appear in the form of a divine beast, and so Midna, who was lurking nearby, chooses to follow Link, and the pair decide to venture through the Twilight regions together. Throughout the game, Link and Midna explore the shrouded provinces of Faron, Eldin, and Lanayru. The wounded husks of the light spirits each give Link a vessel of light, with which he can collect tears of light, the light stolen from the spirits when the shadow beasts attacked. However, the tears are now found within shadow insects, giant, scuttling, beetle-like creatures that cling to walls or burrow beneath the ground and are invisible to the naked eye, so can be seen only by using Link's wolf senses. Link needs to explore the sections of the world shrouded in darkness, hunt the insects, and restore the light. In my mind, the Twilight is one of the most unsettling locations in any Zelda game. It's not as overtly scary as, say, the Shadow Temple, an underground torture chamber, but the horror here is something deeper, something more unnerving. In the Twilight, there's an unshakable feeling that something's not quite right, like Link is an intruder in a place he should not be in. There's a liminal quality to Hyrule under Twilight, a strange, uneasy sadness that you can't escape from. The visual and audio design of Twilight reinforces this sense of wrongness. The square black particles lingering in the air and the blocky design of the portals give this realm a strangely digital feel, and the music and sound effects reflect this. Everything about it feels out of place, like the game itself is glitching, like these are invaders from outside of reality, beings beyond understanding. This feeling is further accentuated by the fact that the spirits found within the Twilight can't see Link. The player gets an intimate view into these characters' feelings, and can experience their terror firsthand, but can't interact with them, can't reassure them. It feels like a dream in which nobody can see you, a strange mirror world where Link is present but powerless, able to witness everything but unable to change it. The spirits of these people cower in their houses. Koro stands on a pile of boxes, terrified of the giant insects that have invaded his home. Renato, Barnes, and the Ordon children take refuge in Kakariko Village, hiding from the monsters outside. It's in this scene that we learn a horrifying detail about the Twilight. Barnes, in his panic, remembers how the lady from the general store was attacked by a single shadow beast, and a whole group from the town went to rescue her. When the townsfolk arrived, however, they didn't find the woman, but instead 2 shadow beasts waiting for them. This implies that the shadow beasts are not only transformed Twilight, but humans too. When they attack, they will turn your friends and family against you, twisting them into more of the warped black monsters. Twilight Princess begins with a conversation between Link and Russell. As the woods around them are steeped in the glowing embers of twilight, Russell asks Link if he ever feels a strange sadness as dusk falls. They say it's the only time when our world intersects with theirs, the only time we can feel the lingering regrets of spirits who have left our world. That is why loneliness always pervades the hour of twilight. Hyruleans believe that there is a spirit world, an afterlife that is closest to their own as the sun sets. This calls into question the nature of Twilight, whether it is the truth behind this myth, a kind of Yomi or world of the dead. Midna questions this assertion, however. In the Japanese version of the game, she claims that Hyruleans act like it's the other world or something. However, that is not so. In truth, it is a beautiful place, calm like the hour of twilight in this world. Near the end of the game, Link and Midna visit the Twilight Realm itself. This is different to the areas of Hyrule in which the Twilight has bled. This is the dimension to which the interlopers and Ganondorf were banished, the home of the Twilight. If Hyrule is a land bathed in light, then this place is what exists in its shadow. Not a dark world like Ganon's twisted evil realm, but a somber place devoid of light. It's in the Palace of Twilight found in this world that the difference between Hyrule shrouded in twilight and the Twilight Realm itself becomes clear. Unlike when he enters Twilight in Hyrule, Link isn't forced into his wolf form when he enters the Twilight Realm itself, so we can assume that mortals wouldn't be reduced to spirits here either. That is, unless Link comes into contact with dark fog found inside the palace. If this touches him, he'll transform into Wolf Link, and can't return to his Hylian form until it's no longer in contact with him. Midna explains that this fog is made up of shadow crystals created by Zant, which blot out light, exactly the same as the shadow crystal he created earlier on in the story, which he used to lock Link into his wolf form permanently. This is a dark magic that only the Master Sword itself could break, and Midna explains that this is what stole the light from the light spirits and cast Hyrule into twilight. Zant, however, holds very little power of his own. Everything he has, everything he is, was granted to him by his master, Ganondorf. The dark fog, the shadow crystals, and, by extension, the veil of twilight itself is Ganondorf's own dark magic. So when Hyrule is cloaked in twilight, it isn't just this shadowy dimension bleeding into the light world. It's Ganondorf's dark powers made manifest, poisoning the kingdom who shunned him. The eerie, silent towns and forests Link explores aren't the somber, peaceful twilight. They're a violent, nightmarish echo of it, twisted by the evil magic of the Dark Lord. In a way, Russell's myth is proven correct. This is the other world, a purgatory filled with sadness and regret. Ganon's dark world, a land of spirits and death. Though they do not know it, Hyrule citizens have been sent to hell itself, terrified and alone. All the while, Princess Zelda remains trapped in her tower. Like Link in the Twilight, she can sense her people's suffering, but is unable to help, painfully aware that all the people know now is fear. Fear of a nameless evil. Thanks for watching this video. If you liked it, leave a like or subscribe if you haven't already for more Zelda content. Cheers guys, and I'll see you next time.